Are you alone? Good, because what you're about to hear isn't for everyone. These are 3 real paranormal experiences, stories that have never been explained, and probably never will be. So grab your blanket, turn off the lights, and whatever you do, don't answer when something whispers your name. Like, subscribe, and let's begin. It started the day after the funeral. Michael Reed stood at the edge of the overgrown driveway, staring at the house that hadn't been touched in years. His brother Jonathan had lived here alone after their mother passed. The white paint peeled from the wooden slats, ivy strangled the porch posts, and the wind knocked the old porch swing back and forth in dull, lifeless squeaks. There was something about coming back here that made Michael's chest feel tight, not just grief. Something else, like walking into a place that didn't want to be disturbed. He stepped inside. Dust coated the air like pollen, dry and bitter in his mouth. The silence was suffocating. Every floorboard groaned under his steps as if warning him to turn back. But he didn't. He couldn't. Jonathan had left him a note, handed over after the funeral by the family's lawyer. Mikey, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Go to the attic. You'll understand. Don't be afraid. Michael had laughed bitterly when he read it. Typical Jonathan, cryptic even in death. But he couldn't ignore it. Not after everything. Not after losing the only family he had left. So he walked through the old house, navigating the dark, narrowing staircase at the end of the hall. Cobwebs brushed his face. The smell of mildew and rotting wood grew stronger the higher he went. The attic door groaned as he opened it. Inside was the childhood they had both left behind, boxes of broken toys, dusty photo albums, and in the far corner, hidden under a moth-eaten blanket, was something that didn't belong. A radio, old, mid-century, polished mahogany casing, circular tuning dial, broken antenna. It wasn't plugged in, and yet, the dial flicked, just slightly. Michael frowned. What the hell? He reached out, touched the dial. Click, static, loud and sharp. It burst into the attic like a scream. Michael stumbled back. He hadn't even turned it on. It wasn't plugged into anything.
No batteries.
No power. Still, it crackled to life like something breathing after drowning. He stared at it, frozen. Then, through the static, a voice, faint,
Familiar.
Mikey. He stepped closer, breath caught in his throat. Jonathan, he whispered, but there was no reply, just static. That night, Michael couldn't sleep. He lay on the moth-ridden couch in the living room, listening. The house creaked and moaned like it was alive. He could hear footsteps above him, slow and deliberate. But he was alone, wasn't he? His eyes flicked toward the attic. The radio was still up there, and it wasn't silent anymore. Every night for the next 3 days, Michael heard it. Static, just a low hum at first. Then the voice, the same each time. Mikey! It was his brother's voice. Not just a close imitation. Not just a trick of memory. It was exact. The cadence. The tone. The way he used to say Michael's name when they were kids. He recorded it on his phone. Played it back the next morning. Nothing. Just silence.
No static.
No voice. He tried again the next night. Stayed up with the attic door open, recording live. Nothing on playback, but he heard it, plain as day, over and over. Mikey! And then, don't leave. Michael tried to leave on the 4th day. He packed up, shut the door, drove halfway down the road. Then his car stalled. The engine went cold. Dead. Dashboard lights off. Phone dead too. He stepped out into the fog. The woods felt wrong. Trees leaned in, their branches twitching even though the air was still. Behind him, the road was empty. No sound, no wind, just a whisper, so soft it was almost mist. Right behind his ear. Mikey! He turned. No one. Nothing. Just the house, far behind him, now partially swallowed by the mist. The attic window was open, but it had been shut. Michael walked back. Not because he wanted to, because something pulled him. The moment he stepped inside again, the radio flared to life on its own. The voice came back, louder this time. Why'd you leave? He collapsed to his knees. "What are you? What do you want?" The static hissed. Then a second voice. "Not Jonathan." Ragged. Deep. Wrong. "He's not here anymore." Michael ran. Desperate for answers, Michael dug through the attic during the day. He opened boxes, scattered old letters, anything that could explain what was happening. He found a photograph, one he didn't remember, himself as a child, Jonathan beside him, and between them someone else. A third figure, pale, blurred, taller than either of them. No face, just a shadowed head, long arms, a hand resting on each of their shoulders. Written on the back, Attic 1997. He asked around the neighborhood. No one remembered the photo, but one old woman, a neighbor named Agnes, told him something that made his blood run cold. "You boys weren't supposed to be in that attic," she whispered, eyes wide. "That room, it belonged to someone before your family moved in. A man, lived alone, talked to the radio, said he heard voices, said the static told him secrets. Then one night, he vanished. No one ever found his body." Michael felt his knees shake. "The static," she said, leaning closer, "wants you too." He tried destroying the radio. He carried it outside, smashed it with a hammer. It didn't break, not a scratch. He threw it in the lake behind the house. The water swallowed it. The next morning, it was back, in the attic, same corner, still humming. Only now, the voice wasn't just calling. It was pleading. "Mikey, please, help me." And underneath that, another voice, speaking backwards, whispering in gibberish, low and rhythmic like chanting. Michael started dreaming of fire, of someone screaming in the attic, of himself, sitting cross-legged in front of the radio, bleeding from his ears as it hissed secrets into his brain. He woke up one night in the attic, barefoot, unsure how he got there. The radio was on. The tuning dial spun slowly, and from it came a new sound, breathing, right behind him. He turned. Nothing, but the attic door slammed shut, locked. He was trapped, alone, with the radio, and whatever used it to speak. In desperation, Michael contacted a local psychic, a woman named Eliza, small, old, serious. She didn't laugh when he told her what was happening. She walked through the house, frowning. Her skin went pale in the attic. "This place is layered," she whispered. "Something is piggybacking on your brother's death." "What does that mean?" "It's not Jonathan. Not anymore." That night, they performed a seance. Candles lit in a circle. The radio in the middle. First, just silence. Then static. Then the voice. "Mikey!" Eliza's eyes rolled back. Her voice changed. "He's trapped. It's feeding. It used him. It wants you." Suddenly, all the candles went out. The room went ice cold. And in the pitch black, they both heard it. A loud breath, right next to Michael's ear. Then the radio screamed. A human scream, high-pitched, agonizing. Then silence. Eliza collapsed. The attic door flew open, and the radio was gone. Michael left Ravendale the next morning. He didn't say goodbye. He never returned. But a month later, a package arrived at his Chicago apartment. No return address, just a plain cardboard box. Inside, the radio, not dusty, not broken, polished, clean, working. There was a note inside. "It never lets go. You let it in." Michael tried to burn it, bury it, sell it. Nothing worked. The radio always came back, and each night it spoke louder. Now, it doesn't call him Mikey anymore. It calls him us. April 9th. The Collins family moved into their new home in rural Vermont, an old farmhouse at the end of a gravel road, surrounded by thick woods and rolling hills. Everything about it felt peaceful. At first, James and Marissa Collins had been looking for a fresh start after a traumatic miscarriage the year before. The house was exactly what they wanted: secluded, rustic, cheap, almost too cheap. Their 6-year-old daughter, Ellie, was the first to notice something strange. "Mommy," she said on their first morning, standing at the kitchen window with her cereal bowl. "The girl in the attic just waved at me."
Marissa froze mid-pour.
What girl, sweetie? The girl in the window upstairs. She has long hair and no shoes. She waves every morning. James laughed when Marissa told him. She's got an imagination, like you did. Marissa wasn't so sure. They hadn't even shown Ellie the attic yet. It was a week later when Marissa decided to look for herself. It was early morning. Ellie was already at the kitchen table, happily humming and waving toward the second floor. Marissa stepped outside with her coffee and looked up. The attic window was right where Ellie said it would be. Second gable. Shutter slightly open. Curtains pulled back. Someone could definitely stand there. That night, Marissa asked James, "Have you been up in the attic yet?" He shrugged. "Just to dump a few boxes. Haven't even checked it all out. I didn't see that window from the inside." "What do you mean?" She took him upstairs. They climbed the narrow stairs to the attic, creaky, dusty, the air thick with insulation and the smell of old wood. But the far end of the attic? Solid wall. No window, no frame, no paint, just dry plaster. They tapped on it, knocked. Hollow. James frowned. That should be the window side, right? Yeah, but it's not there. They marked it down to poor house renovations. Maybe it had been boarded up. That night, Marissa didn't sleep well. She dreamed of scratching, of something tapping from behind the wall. The next morning, Ellie had drawings on the fridge. Crayons. Lots of red. A girl in a white dress. Long black hair. Bare feet. Ellie had written a name at the top. Annabelle. "Who's this?" Marissa asked carefully. "My new friend." "Where did you meet her?" "She lives in the wall. She talks to me when you're sleeping." James tried to laugh it off again, but that night, they heard footsteps above them. Heavy, deliberate. In the attic. James went up with a flashlight. No one. Nothing. All boxes untouched. Then they found the scratches. Small. Repeating. Underneath the old wallpaper in Ellie's bedroom, tiny claw marks in the wood. Inside the wall. Almost like fingernails. James patched it up. The next night, they were back. Marissa began digging. She called the town hall, then the historical society. The farmhouse had a dark past. Built in 1891. Originally owned by a man named Edgar Whitlow. Had a daughter named Annabelle who died at age 7. No record of how. Whispers of illness. Maybe suicide. Maybe worse. The attic had once been her nursery. Then suddenly it was sealed. Literally bricked up in the 1940s. No reason documented. Later owners reported noises and cold spots, but nothing ever concrete. Until now, when Marissa told Ellie, her daughter smiled. "She's not dead, Mommy. She's just hiding." One night, Marissa woke to Ellie crying softly. She found her in the closet, curled up, shaking. "What happened?" "She was mad," Ellie whispered. "She said you want to take me away from her." Marissa held her daughter tight. The closet door slammed shut behind them on its own. The light bulb shattered, and from behind the clothes, a whisper, "Stay." James burst in seconds later, but the damage was done. Ellie wouldn't sleep alone anymore. And Marissa? She had started hearing the voice too. Every night, Marissa dreamed the same thing. She walks down the attic stairs in her nightgown. Only the stairs go deeper and deeper, far below the foundation. She hears Ellie's voice crying out, muffled. Then the girl, Annabelle, her face always turned away. She stands in the shadowed corner of the wall that should have the window, and when she turns, she has no eyes, just dark, bleeding holes. She screams silently. Marissa wakes up gasping, heart pounding. Ellie, asleep next to her, has scratches on her arms. Fresh, thin, like from small fingernails. James had enough. One afternoon, while Marissa and Ellie were out, he took a sledgehammer to the attic wall. Behind the plaster and drywall was a door, small, child-sized, painted shut. He pried it open. Inside was a hidden room only about 6 feet by 6 feet. Wallpaper of faded daisies, old doll parts strewn across the floor, a rocking chair, still rocking, and a small mattress covered in dust and what looked like ancient stains. On the far wall, a window, facing directly out over the backyard, visible from the ground, exactly where Ellie had seen the girl. James took a photo with his phone. Then, the door slammed behind him, and he heard breathing, low, childlike. Right behind him, the rocking chair tipped over on its own, and in the dust on the floor, clear as day, a message appeared. Don't take her away. 2 nights later, Ellie vanished. The Collins woke up to find her bed empty. The window in her room cracked open. They called police, searched the woods. Neighbors helped. Dogs sniffed. Nothing. No sign. Until Marissa went into the attic. She heard crying soft, muffled, behind the hidden room's door. But when she opened it, the room was gone. Just a flat wall again. And faintly, very faintly, she heard a girl giggling. James became obsessed. He installed cameras, recorders, motion sensors. Nothing ever showed up. Until the last tape. Marissa watched it in bed alone, nearly a month after Ellie disappeared. The footage was from the attic set to night vision. At 3:12 a.m., the temperature dropped on the sensor by 30 degrees. The radio turned on by itself static. Then, Ellie walked into frame, eyes wide open. Her feet weren't touching the ground. Behind her, the girl, Annabelle, smiling. Then both turned toward the camera, and the feed cut to black. It's been 6 years. The Collins divorced. The house was sold again, then abandoned. But locals say that if you drive past that farmhouse just before dawn, you can see a little girl standing in the attic window, waving. She waves to someone, even though the inside of that wall is sealed with concrete now. And if you wave back, you'll hear her that night, whispering your name from your closet. The Lockwood Hotel was built in 1894. An old world, red brick monolith standing alone on the edge of Cliffside, Maine. Once a luxurious getaway for the elite, now it catered mostly to desperate travelers, budget tourists, and the occasional paranormal YouTuber. The manager, Jordan Hale, didn't believe in ghosts. Not when he first took the night shift 2 months ago. Not when the other staff warned him never to go past room 312. Not when the housekeeper whispered, "Don't talk about 313. It listens." But he started to believe. The night he saw the door open by itself. March 7th, 2:41 a.m. A guest staying in room 312 called down, trembling. "Someone is banging on the wall behind my bed, like hard. It's coming from the other side." Jordan frowned. 313 should have been empty. He checked the computer system. Room 313, vacant/blocked. Still, he went up to check. As he walked down the empty hallway, the lights above him flickered one by one, like something moving ahead of him. When he reached room 313, the "Do Not Enter" sign was hanging sideways. The door, slightly open. A breeze escaped. He pushed it open. Inside, darkness.
No lights. No furniture.
Just a room full of thick, heavy air. And on the far wall, someone had scratched into the paint. "You saw me." Jordan slammed the door shut and locked it. He didn't sleep that day. March 11th. A man named Victor Hensley checked in. Middle-aged, glasses, quiet. He was placed in room 308. At 2:16 a.m., surveillance footage caught him leaving his room, barefoot, silent. He walked down the hallway, straight into room 313. The door opened for him and closed behind him. The next morning, he was gone. No checkout.
No belongings.
Police arrived. Jordan showed them the hallway footage. They watched Victor go into 313, but never come out. Then one officer leaned forward. "Wait, back up. Look at the mirror." There, in the hallway mirror near the elevator, was Victor, but facing away from the camera. The camera was behind him, but his reflection was looking into it. The officer turned to Jordan. "That room's not safe." Jordan replied quietly, "That room's not even real." Jordan went to the city archives the next day. He requested the original hotel blueprints. Room 313 wasn't on them. In fact, it skipped from room 312 straight to 314. No space in between. No wall. Yet the hallway clearly had the door. He had seen it, walked into it, even slept in front of it trying to keep watch. That night he heard it again, screaming, not from inside the room, from inside the walls. High-pitched, human, tortured, and then the doorknob began turning, slowly, rattling. Something wanted out. The only one who would talk to Jordan about room 313 was Lucinda, an elderly housekeeper who had worked at Lockwood for 34 years. She refused to clean the third floor. She said she had seen a child standing in front of the door once. Thin, so thin, in a dress that looked wet. Lucinda whispered, "They say that room was never built, but something built itself. Maybe it's a crack, a wound, a bleeding place between our world and something that shouldn't touch it." She pressed a tiny black rosary into his palm. "If you hear it whisper your name, do not answer." March 19th. Jordan tried not to look at the door, but it got harder every night. The knocks were louder. The static on the front desk radio grew worse until it started forming words. Mimical. That wasn't his name, but it was someone else's. The next night, he made the mistake. He stood outside the door and whispered, "Who are you?" Pause. Then, "You know me," and the door swung open. Inside, the room was no longer empty. There was a mirror, large, wall to wall. He saw himself in it. Then behind him, in the reflection, someone else. Pale girl, lips stitched shut, holding scissors. He turned around. No one there. He looked back at the mirror. Now she was gone. But the scissors? They were now in the corner of the room. Real. Dripping. Each time Jordan entered room 313, it was different. Once, the walls were covered in children's drawings. All the same thing. A tall, black figure with no face and long arms. Another night, the floor was covered in teeth. Human. Tiny. Like from children. Another night, nothing but whispering. "Let us out, let us out, let us out, let us out." The whispers came from the sink drain. He saw faces in the mirror. Not his. People with mouths open in silent screams. One was Victor Hensley. Another looked like himself, but older, and crying blood. March 25th. An old record arrived at the hotel archives. An incident from 1972. Thomas Bragg, the night manager back then, had jumped from the third-floor window. No note, but written on the wall in his blood. Room 313 is not empty. Jordan lasted one more week. By then, he had stopped sleeping. Every hallway reflection showed him things that weren't there. Guests began to disappear, always around the third floor. Once, a guest called down and said, "Can you please ask the girl in the hallway to stop staring at me?" No staff was upstairs at the time. Jordan checked the cameras. The footage played normally until 3:13 a.m. Then, static. When it came back, Jordan was standing outside 313, eyes closed, lips moving, but he never remembered going up there. One final night, Jordan decided to end it. He brought tools, hammer, salt, crucifix, tape recorder. He entered room 313 at exactly 3:13 a.m. He placed the tape recorder on the floor. "If you hear this, I didn't make it out." Inside, the room had no walls, just endless black space. And in the center, a girl, floating. I stitched, mouth open wider and wider and wider. She said, "Welcome back." Then the door slammed shut. Security found the tape the next morning. No Jordan.
No trace.
Only the recording. First just silence, then static, then breathing, and finally, a whisper. "Now you're part of the room too." The door to room 313 has since been sealed with bricks. But every so often, guests still complain about screams. And if you listen closely at night, you'll hear knocking behind the walls, and a voice softly repeating, "Help me remember my name." You made it through all 3 stories. But the question is, will you sleep tonight? If these nightmares haunted you, give the video a like, share it with someone who loves true horror, and subscribe because we're only scratching the surface. The next story is coming soon. And next time, it might be about you.